Sometimes we encounter a truth that just feels, well, too heavy to carry. It's overwhelming. So today, we're going to talk about that exact journey. We're going to explore how we get from a reality that completely shatters us to finding a way to live with all those broken pieces. This is all about the bridge between a devastating truth and what you might call a livable love.
This is too much to live inside. Wow. I mean, that sentence just hits you, right? It perfectly captures that feeling of being completely swamped by a truth so huge, so raw, that you just can't function. It feels psychologically impossible to live with. And believe it or not, that's exactly where our story has to begin.
So let's dive into a place that is meant to be uncomfortable. We're calling this Chapter 11 for our purposes here. It's that metaphorical phase in our lives, the one that's specifically designed to be emotionally disruptive. Its whole job is to just shatter the reality we thought we knew.
Okay, so what's the first domino to fall? It's our precious sense of control. Poof, gone. It's that gut punch realization that, hey, maybe I'm not in the driver's seat for everything. The outcomes in our lives, they're driven by forces so much bigger than just our own will. We're not the sole authors of our story. We're more like participants in a massive, unfolding epic.
And right after control goes, this truth comes for our ego. All those personal stories we tell ourselves. You know the ones, the neat little narratives about who we are, why things happen the way they do. They just start to crumble. Suddenly, our moral compass, the thing we thought was so solid, it starts to feel incredibly fragile against the backdrop of this huge new reality. And then comes the final blow. This phase forces us to look at reality on a scale that isn't really human. We're made to see that creation and destruction, beauty and terror, they aren't opposites fighting each other. No, they're two sides of the very same coin. They're a package deal, totally inseparable.
So after all that, where are you? What does that leave you with? Well, it's a strange cocktail, isn't it? On one hand, there's this profound sense of awe, but it's mixed with fear, a really deep humility, and just this feeling of being completely lost, psychologically disoriented. You're basically left standing in the rubble of everything you thought you knew. And that discomfort, that's the whole point.
But here's the thing. Nobody can live in that rubble forever. It's just not possible. So after an experience this earth-shattering, you find yourself at a critical crossroads. You have to make a choice, because staying in that disoriented state, it's non-sustainable. Finding a path forward isn't just a nice idea. It becomes absolutely essential.
And from that crossroads, there are basically two unhealthy ways to go. On the one hand, you can just collapse. This is where nihilism, despair, and total paralysis set in. On the other hand, you've got denial. Just pretend it never happened, right? Forget the vision, go back to the comfortable illusions. But let's be real. Neither of those is a real solution. They're dead ends.
And this is exactly why we need the next phase. This is why our Chapter 12 has to exist. It's not some escape hatch. It doesn't contradict the hard truth we just learned. It is the answer. It's the necessary, practical answer to the huge psychological problem that Chapter 11 just created. It's the third path that helps us avoid both collapsing and living in denial.
It all boils down to this one silent question. It's the question that hangs in the air after the dust settles. How do I remain human after seeing the truth? I mean, really think about that. After your entire world has been flipped upside down by something so cosmic, so overwhelming, how do you come back to Earth and just be a person? How do you live with what you now know?
The answer, in a word, is integration. That is the entire job of Chapter 12. And listen, this is key. It doesn't try to erase or undo the hard truth of Chapter 11. Not at all. Instead, it gives you the tools to hold that truth. It teaches you how to carry that weight without being crushed by it.
Okay, so that sounds good, but how does it actually work? How do we do this whole integration thing? Well, this is where we start rebuilding. Think of Chapter 12 as our toolkit. It's full of specific emotional tools we need to build a new foundation, but this time on the ground of what's actually true. It really happens in 3 key steps. First up, grounding. After you've been blasted with all that cosmic awe, it gently pulls you back down from that huge universal scale to the human scale, to relationships, to connection. Next, it gives you a sense of safety after all that terror, and this isn't a fake safety based on illusions, it's a real steadiness. And finally, after that incredibly lonely vision of the whole universe, it brings back a sense of belonging. It anchors you back to other people. And when you use these tools, the result is a totally different emotional state. It's a night and day difference. Instead of that mix of awe and fear, you start to feel calm and trust. Instead of that dizzying disorientation, you find warmth, and you get your moral compass back with real ethical clarity. It's a stable place. It's a place you can actually live.
Now, this is so important, so let me be really clear. Moving into this new state is not a step down. It is not a regression. You're not picking some softer or lesser version of reality. No way. This is an act of real maturity, what you could even call post-truth maturity. It's about taking that enormous external truth and finding a way to carry it inside you. It is a step inward.
All right, this brings us right to the heart of it all. This is the central idea, the absolute spine of this whole transition we've been talking about. It's the difference between just knowing a thing and actually living it.
Chapter 11 reveals what is true. Chapter 12 shows how to live truthfully. Just sit with that for a second. It's so powerful. Think of it like this. Chapter 11 gives you the raw, unfiltered data of reality. It shows you the fundamental truth. But Chapter 12, that's the user manual. It's the wisdom that shows you how to build a life that's actually aligned with that truth.
And we need to be really clear about what the goal is here, emotionally speaking. This journey through Chapter 12, it's not about chasing some euphoric high or feeling constantly inspired. It's not about that at all. It's about something much deeper, something more resilient. The real goal is to feel steadied, reassured, to be quietly, solidly grounded.
Because in the end, this whole thing isn't just some abstract philosophical idea, is it? Sooner or later, a storm of truth comes for every single one of us. It shows up and it shatters what we thought we knew. So the real question, the one that matters, is what happens next? After the storm passes, how are you going to choose to rebuild?